Hi, folks. Larry Rolla here. Um, Today, we're going to talk about a podcast I filmed on Thursday, February 22nd, and aired on Tuesday, February 27th. I'm going to read a lot of it because I don't want to leave anything out and I don't want to screw up because this is pretty important to me. It was a podcast that featured my friend Joe Alborano and his racehorse Artistic Fella, the winner of the 2006 $1 million Meadowlands Pace. On Wednesday, the day following the podcast, I got a call from Joe telling me that some guy, Michael Petrelli, from Harness Horse Resolution, called him and said that he received information that 7 of Joe's horses, his horses were, including Artistic Fella, were in real bad shape on a farm in South Jersey. Joe told him that that was not true, that the farm the horses were on was the farm that he recently sold, and he paid the new owners $1,500 a month to stable the horses there. And he stopped there every day just to make sure that they were okay and give them some carrots or whatever. But anyway, Mike said, well, that's a report I got, and I'm going out there. So Joe made arrangements to meet him out there. And they met, and I told Joe that if there's anything he needed from me, that he should call me, and I'll shoot right down there. And the following day, they met, and he called me, and he said that he didn't need me, that everything was okay. Everything was fine. And he put Mike on the phone, and Mike told me that he spoke to the owners of the farm, and the reason the horses, they wanted them to leave was because of they were doing a lot of construction on the farm, and they needed them out of there. Now, about a couple of weeks prior to that, we had that snowfall, and the new owners that were boarding these horses for Joe, he was paying $1,500 a month to board the horses there from the owners that he sold the farm to. It started to snow and rain and everything. Anyway, they brought the stud horses, and he had 3 stud horses out of the 7. He brought them into the barn and kept them in the stalls, and the other ones he left out in the paddock. And soon the paddocks turned to, a sea of mud. But Mike told me that he tried to make a deal with the owners that they could stay there and just clean them up a bit. But he said the owners were very hostile and argumentative, and when none of it worked, they made a phone call, and they found a place for the horses. And the following day, they shipped all the horses to Birch Creek Farms, located just a few miles away in Upper Freehold Township. Well, the following day, I spoke to Joe, and he said everything was great. The horses were moved, and they were all in good shape, and that he will continue looking for a small farm so he could bring the horses back with him. According to Mike, all problems were solved. Good news all around. And that was good. That night is when bullshit started. A lot of drama. I got a message from Mike, and the message read like this. I'm going to read it exactly what he wrote. Question for Larry Rolla. Last Tuesday, while this group and I were well aware of the situation autistic fella and 6 other standardbreds were in, me pulling my hair out, what little hair I have left, begging for someone to help with new living conditions for these animals. This was happening with no mention of reality. The slap in the face is telling the story of the horse, which is fine, while he was living in a shithole and looks the way he looks. Has anyone stood back for a second and thought of that? Right now, he still needs help, not views of his past. Some people are completely missing what matters. Now, of course, that was directed to me. A few minutes later, I get another text from him, and this one read, I guess because I didn't respond, this one read, and no mention of what was happening with this horse at the moment this podcast was being recorded. That really blows my mind, Larry. While my group and myself are going nuts trying to find him and 6 other proper living conditions, you guys are reliving the past. These horses still need help so Joe can think clearly for a bit, while good people make sure this world champion and 6 others are safe. Totally missing the plot here. Just mind-blowing. At least let people know with a sidebar that the horses are in need and not in need of views. After reading these 2 messages from Michael, accusing me of showcasing Joe, an autistic fella, while knowing of the situation, not only is that a lie, but he was told Thursday by Joe that the podcast was filmed 6 days before it aired, and nobody knew anything about what he was talking about at that time, or the condition of the horses or that whole situation. At that point, it became personal to me. The following morning, I found out that not only did Mike send me the 2 messages, he sent it all over social media, which prompted 20 or 30 calls, texts, and messages to me, each one accusing me of the lies that Mike spread. And they said I was a disgusting person for showcasing Joe, an autistic fella, while all the time I knew that they were in that condition, which I had no idea. And then they went on to say I should create a fund or put up my own money to help Joe care for the horses. These accusations were spread all over the place, and some of the messages I got were starting to get nasty. And that's the reason why I'm responding now. First, I knew nothing about this situation while filming the podcast or even after the podcast was shown. Second, he says he was going nuts trying to find proper living conditions for the horse. That was a lie. Joe was with him and took 1 phone call. Then he mentions him and his crew. What crew? He was there by himself. Anyway, the following morning, which was Tuesday, March 5th, I drove to 201 Country Road, Cream Ridge, New Jersey. That's the address of Birch Creek Farms where the horses were shipped. I wanted to see for myself if what Mike was saying pertaining to the health and neglect of the horses was true. I also wanted to find out if there was anything I could do pertaining to the funds that may be needed if Joe was in some kind of trouble, which I doubted very much. But I went out there, and here's what I found out. Birch Creek Farm is a premier 207-acre facility with 3 fully equipped barns and a 24-hour farm staff. Across the farm are fields ranging from 4 acres to 25 acres, all with automatic heated waterers. It's an unbelievable place. The highlight of the day, one of the highlights, was meeting the owner, Judy. She's been there since 1980, and she has been breeding, raising, boarding standardbreds, horses, and Judy is dedicated to treating every horse like her own, and that's why she turned it into an organic place. No pesticides are ever used on that farm. It's an unbelievable place. Well, after all the lies and drama, here's where we are as of last Tuesday, March 5th. All 7 horses are at Birch Creek Farm. All 7 are over 20 years old, have been examined, are all in great shape and flesh. The monthly schedule that Joe had created for the horses with the veterinarian, blacksmith, and horse dentist will continue at Birch Creek Farm. And the last thing is Joe don't need any money. He don't need any help. He's more than capable of financing all that's his, including the 7 horses. Now, let's get back to Mike. It was sometime in June or July of 2022 that I first heard the name Mike Petrelli. I guess that's how you say it. And the work he was doing, finding homes for retired racehorses and homes and horses that were being abused and abandoned by their owners or trainers. I thought that was a pretty noble thing to do. And so on August 4th, 2022, at 6:44 p.m., I sent him a message. It simply read, "Good work." He immediately answered me, "Far from done, Larry." A few minutes later, I wrote him another text. And it said, word for word, "I'm rooting for you, but I don't believe you can do this alone. I sure hope that you get some help because everything you said on Freddie Hudson's show was right on. What you're talking about now, I faced 60 years ago. I have a problem much like you. I have a problem just turning the other cheek. I just went about it in a different way. It might be in our DNA. I wish you all the luck in the world. I can't offer my help because it would probably only hurt your cause." 7 months later, on March 24th, 2023, at 7:29 p.m., was the last text between us. After hearing a little bit about him through the grapevine, I sent him the following text. It's so sad for the most part that the only ones that appreciate and want to thank you can't even speak. You're in a David and Goliath fight. I sure hope you brought your slingshot. It's so sad. You're a good man, and I hope you get some help and support soon. It's only a matter of time before you burn out doing it alone, and they'll win again. Stay strong and be well. His response was, "Way back, I think you knew my cousin Buddy Scarpa. I am not from up here. My roots are in the city, and I'm not as naive as some believe. I have no idea what that means, but that was his response. I responded to that saying, I wish you good luck and good health. Well, that was a year ago. And that was the last communication we had until now. And at that time, as you could see from the messages, I was on his side. Since that time, which was a year ago, I started to hear a lot of stories from friends and things that popped up on social media, on Facebook and whatever. And it was about Mike. It was about his attitude, his aggressiveness, his exaggeration and lies. And from what they tell me, it was all to make himself look good and raise money. I made up my mind after talking to a few friends and hearing these things that my dealings with him would end and I would stay neutral. No more messages back and forth, just mind my own business. Well, now this. He involved me by telling lies, and like I said before, it now becomes personal. Do any of you remember the Steinfeld episode, The Library Cop? That's who Michael reminds me of. That's the only comparison I could make. If he's going to go around playing God, which is noble, he should first learn both sides of the story. Know what you're going after. Know what you're getting into. He should have all phases of his operation in order, including financing needed for traveling and horses, homes for the horses he plans on rescuing and relocating. He has none of this. What drives him are accusations that he hears or that come his way. No due diligence, no nothing. He believes everything he hears and in many cases accuse completely innocent people like myself. There's a big difference between what you hear, what you want it to be, and what is. From what I hear, Mike records, films, and saves everything, including emails and messages that are sent to him. Well, so do I, Mike. Everything I said, I have on record. So if you want to come at me, go back 50 years and you'll have plenty of ammunition. There's a lot more I could say, but I'm just going to try to keep it civil because what he did to me, he caused a lot of my friends to say a lot of things that were not nice to me. And I never even responded to any of them until this. I just hope that the 20, 30 people that accuse me of doing something shitty, that they realize now that that wasn't the case. And maybe expose this guy, Mike, whose side I was on until I found out the stories about him are true. And I'm not going to say anything more about him. I'm just going to stay neutral unless he comes back at me. If he comes back at me, then he's going to have a problem. And I know to him, them are fighting words. And I know he's from Brooklyn. And I know he knows people and everything else. But you know what, Mike? I don't give a fuck neither. So let's just drop this thing. It'd be nice if you apologize and admit that you knew that I didn't know what you said. I said. So with that, I'm going to say good night. I'll see you next Tuesday. See ya.